What is going on, guys? Good morning. It is 1:03 East Coast Standard Time, and we are ready to break down the slate, right? This is an exclusive Patreon member-only stream. So if you are not a Patreon member, you will be kicked eventually from the stream. If you are in here illegally, you will be killed. You will be found and killed. No, but seriously, if you are on the Patreon member, please do sign up. $20 is all it takes, and you have access to all of our cheat sheets, and of course, our private live streams like this. Of course, you will be kicked because this is a private link. If you have access to it, it will identify you as not being in the chat, and it will boot you. So, if you are in here and not a Patreon member, enjoy it while you can. For the Patreon members, guys, thank you so much for your support. I'm going to be going over advanced GPP building while using our Patreon tool, our cheat sheet. Okay, so if you are not in here for that reason, I'm sorry, but this is a little bit more advanced because on my Patreon cheat sheet we have, and I'll actually just show you, and for you guys that are Patreon members, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm going to pull it right here on the screen. We have our updated projection ownership, and then our percent top stack. Okay, what you want to do is you want to compare these two columns, because what these columns tell you is if the field is overweight on a certain team or if they are underweight, where to kind of put your eggs, because depending on where the ownership is, if it's inflated, you obviously want to go under that, maybe even fade the team, because you're trying to take down the GPP. If you are fading a majority of that percentage ownership and that chalk does not hit, it will propel you all the way to the front. That's how it works in every sport. That's how it works in basketball. That's how it works in baseball. That's how it works in football. You want to avoid the chalk in GPPs, or at least grab a net of a bunch of different teams that make the most sense, that are going to propel you to the top. Obviously, these lineups in your GPPs and your GPP constructions want to look completely different from your cash lineup. You want to go 50% in cash and GPPs. If you do that, if you're just a GPP player, you obviously want to differentiate yourself in as many ways possible to propel you to the top. Because in GPPs, the goal is to hit big often, and if it's not often, you want to make sure you're hitting big at least a majority of the time. Okay, so are you guys here? First of all, enter if you guys are in the chat, because I know the stream does go down. Go ahead and just let me know if you're here. Go ahead, enter your name into the chat. Good morning to everybody. First of all, we have an hour till lock, so we have plenty of time to talk this over. I've already built about 75% of my lineup, so I'll show you the kind of the process that I have. Okay, this is advanced. This is not for beginners, okay? Because we're going to be talking ownership. You guys can ask as many noob questions as you want. I won't judge you, but these guys are this is for the Patreon users. You guys have been here for a little bit, hopefully. And if you are new, then I'm going to go over projection ownership and percent top stack real quick. All right. So let's do that. 1 second. Let's go over the lineups, the starting lineups first for each team. So the main one that's throwing a lot of people through the loop, or into a loop here, rather, is going to be from Sunning. QQ, I think is his name. Let me just check here. If we look at Sunning Games roster, one second. Yeah, so it's Bibu. I think that's how you say his name. He's not starting. It's going to be Ben, B-I-N, okay, for Sunning Gaming. So if you look here at the starting rosters, we have Ben instead of Bibu. And then what we have for V5. V5 is confusing because there's two supports. So CLX and Max are listed as supports on on DraftKings, but CLX is playing ADC. Okay, so if you're playing a support, if you're not playing a full stack for V5, you are playing CLX because he's playing mid, not ADC. Sorry, CLX has a lot more upside because those mid positions tend to get a lot more points. Okay. So that's just a little tidbit. Everything else is the same. So everybody else is on the starting roster that should be. So we have 369. He's back on the lineup here at the top position for TES. Again, here are all the starting lineups. If you guys don't already know them, you're going to need them because if you're playing somebody that's not playing, you're basically banking on the hopes that they're going to be subbed. That doesn't make much sense. All right. All right. So let's start out by looking at what I like to do before every slate is I like to see where the percentage ownership differentiates against the percent top stack, because the percent top stack shows you the percentage of what primary stack, which is 4 players, is going to appear in the optimal lineup. So let's say, for instance, we look at my cheat sheet here. SN has a 24.6% chance to appear in the top stack. That means about they have, if you spin a spinner, it's going to land on 1/4 of the pie. That's the percentage chance that SN is going to appear in the top stack. Okay, so 4 players from SN are going to they're going to have the most points of the night. Okay. If we go down the list, V5 has a 5.64% chance, so about a 5% chance of them appearing in the top stack. OMG 13.59. VG 17, TES 31.36% chance, and RW 7.80% chance. So let's just identify this right off the bat. TES has the highest percent chance, so that's obviously the team that I'm interested in the most. That should be where the chalk is, right? That should be where your cash lineup is being built, is TES, at least based on my projections. And then we compare that to the percent ownership in general. So the percent ownership looks like it's going to be a 35%. I'm not seeing you guys in the chat. Am I going crazy? Oh wow, you guys are all in the chat. Okay. It's weird because on my actual live stream, it's not showing the chats. So that's usually where I identify. But now I have my phone. I can see you guys are chatting away, but I'm not seeing it on my screen, which is weird. I'll keep up my phone here. Sorry. All right. So where was I? Okay. So using my Patreon tool, and you can do this every night. You look at the percentage top stack. So percentage top stack is usually correlated with the most chalk team because they have the highest percent chance to appear in the top lineup. Okay, so you want a 4-3 stack. You want your 4 to be you want your 4 with the most upside, and then your 3 team to have the second most upside on the slate. So if we look up and down this top stack, you would think TES and SN have the best percent chance. They have a 55% chance of appearing in the top stack of the entire night. So that covers more than half of the field, okay? The other 45% is going to probably come from OMG, VG, V5, RW, obviously, okay? But you cannot look at the percentage top stack and just base it off of that. You have to look at the projected ownership, okay? Because let's say TES here, percentage ownership is 35%, but the percentage top stack is 31.36%. By fading TES, you are banking on the fact that you're going to knock out 35% of the field because that ownership is slightly inflated because it only has a 31.36. I know it's minimal. It has about a 3% leverage against the field. This slate's usually harder, or this slate is harder. Usually you see the inflation on these cash projected ownership a little bit higher. Okay, so like for instance, if we fast forward to another night where FPX has a projected ownership at around 50%, usually their percentage top stack is a little bit lower than that. Okay, it's about 35-30%, just like TES right now. Okay, so your basis has to be on the process that, or your process, sorry, you said that backwards. Your process has to be on the basis that you're fading smartly based on the inflation of projected ownership, because you have to think that a lot of people are throwing their cash lineups into these GPPs, which is not smart, okay? Because they're capping their upside with these cash lineups. If you're going a full TES stack with SN, that's probably not the way to go in GPPs. Like I said, because first of all, the percentage ownership is slightly inflated, and because you most likely have to put a support at captain. You also have to consider that OMG and VG are going to probably put relatively the same amount of points as TES and SN. It might be a little bit lower, but what you're able to do is you're allowed to take OMG's captain, and you're allowed to put him, or you're allowed to take OMG's ADC and put him at captain, which can correlate in a lot more points. Okay, so by simply putting OMG's ADC at captain, coming back with a secondary stack with like SN and TES, that can progress you all the way to the top, even if the chalk hits. Okay, just by simply switching over to the ADC, putting him in the captain position, if OMG wins, it's going to propel you to the top, even if this other chalk hits. Okay, assuming that OMG has the same amount of points as TES and SN. If SN goes ballistic and scores 30 kills on each of these games, sure, that doesn't make sense to put OMG in there whatsoever. But OMG, by simply just putting the ADC at the captain spot, is gonna propel you all the way to the top. So when you're looking at the captain position, you want to start with ADC. You want to prioritize this usually. I know there's some teams that this really doesn't come into effect. ADC scores the most points. Mid scores the second most points. Jungler scores third most. Top, fourth, support, fifth on average. Okay, that's usually how it goes, because ADC is usually matched with the support position, and they usually are fishing for kills. Their builds are specifically for getting kills. That's just how it is, and kills get the most points in DraftKings. I just went on an absolute rant on how to build your lines for GPPs. First of all, does that make sense? And second, do I have any questions? All right, cool. Cool. All right, so now after I observe the percentage top stack and I observe the projected percent ownership, where I go next for GPPs is very, very important, okay? Because right now, after looking at this, I'm looking at my leverage. So where the projected ownership isn't inflated. Right now, the leverage is on V5 and RW, but that's very scary, okay? That's just scary in general, because those guys are probably not going to be in the optimal lineup. They have a combined chance of about 13%. I'm probably going to fade them as primary stacks just because of their record, but it's not very general when I do that. I usually make guys that have a lot of leverage as primary stacks. For this slate, it's an exception. I'm probably going to be looking at SN. SN is it looks like the team is going to be right there as far as projected ownership. It looks like everybody's going to be on TES, which is fine. I'm also on them for cash, but SN is probably where I'm going to look to look for my leverage. I hope that SN can keep it close with V5, because that means more kills for me. I'm going to be staking my claim there. So when I start with SN, I want as many different combinations as I possibly can. They are the stack that I'm going to prioritize. All right, so let's look at this. If you have an optimizer and you're looking for SN as your primary build for GPPs, what you're doing is you're setting up your settings, and this is just for roto grounders. Roto grounders happens to be one of my favorites because I am very used to it. You want SN to be as your primary stack, right? And you want as many different combinations that you possibly can with each one of these teams, with the hopes that SN's going to score the most points and that your secondary stack is going to score the second most, okay? So let's just go ahead and compare. Let's go ahead and try pairing them with every single team, starting with RW, okay? So SN, I'm going to lock in Huan Feng. I'm going to build let's go ahead and build about 5 lineups here. And RW, I'm not going to lock in anything. I have a 4 and I have a 3 here, which is going to force my stacks here with Juan Feng in the captain position. All right, so I'm not able... Oops, sorry, I have to unlock VC Gaming for my previous builds. All right, so I built... Right now, I forced to do a 4-3 stack. I have Juan Feng, which is the ADC in the captain spot, and it's going to force a 3 stack. So these are my lineups. Okay? Juan Feng, Ben, Haro, Angel, Suiji, I don't know, Sword Art, and Rogue Warriors. Okay? The second one, SN, Ben, SOFM, Angel, RW here. Okay? Now let's compare these two. When you're looking for lineups to put into your primary builds, you want, like I said, the ADC is the most primary option to put in your captain position, your top position, your jungler, and your mid. You're gonna want from those teams because, or from your primary stack, because those guys are probably going to put up the most points for your team. Okay, if they are the primary, if they score the most points on the slate, those the 4 combo players I just talked about, that's going to propel you to the top. So with that being said, let's look at this bottom one. This bottom one is absolutely optimal with the primary SN and RW as a secondary stack, because it has Juan Feng as the ADC in the captain spot. It has Ben, SOFM, Angel, and then from RW you have to have ZD or ZW UJI. I don't know how to, guys. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. Cut me some slack. Lay, and then Rogue Warriors, okay? This will produce the most optimal stack if I'm looking for that option. So what I would do is I'd export this. It is now one of my 20. I'm just basing this off a 20 build, okay? I would put this into my 20 stack as my SN and RW stack. Okay? That's how I determine that. All right, and then what I would do is I'd move on. I'd move on to SN and TES. This is going to be tricky because I've already done this, so I already know how this is going to look. So you're not going to be able to get Juan Feng into your captain and match TES. All right, it's going to be Angel. I mean, it's not going to be Angel either. It's going to be not Ben. It's going to be all the way down at Sword Art. All right, and there's 3 lines for you to choose from. But again, you want a huge net. You want every single possible combination where you're able to capitalize on your upside and also putting in those 4-3 stacks. Okay, so what I would do is I would look through these lineups real quick. I would see which one I like. Not that one. Not that one. And look, like I said, guys, you want the 4 and then the 3. All right, and that's how you capitalize your upside for your 4-3 stacks. Like I said, this is very, very advanced. So for you guys that are lost, it's okay to be lost. Go ahead and ask any questions. I'm going to go ahead and get to questions here. I'm going to read through the questions. Support is the best you can get. Yep, support is the best you can get with these heavy favorites on the slate. Matt, I think OMG comes in higher than VG. What do you mean by that? What's going on, Evan? What's going on, man? On CSGO, I finished 5th place, so I made a good amount. That's awesome to hear, man. I'm glad you've been having success with the stacks because... again, there's an optimal way to do this in League of Legends. I'm showing you. I actually have all my builds here. I'm gonna continue on. I got through. Let me just make sure I'm telling you guys the right thing. I got through SN as my primaries. I got through TES as my primaries. I got through V6 as my primaries, and now I'm on OMG. So I'll go ahead and start with OMG as my primaries, and you guys can kind of I can kind of walk you guys through the process for that. So let me go ahead and start there. So for instance, if I'm building with OMG as my primary, there's 4. I'm going to pair them here. And I can't do that with RW, it looks like. Interesting, that can't be right. Oh, that's why. Yep. So here's an OMG and RW stack. I'm going to be adding that to my list. Sorry guys, I'm thinking. All right, that's my lineup. Because again, guys, if you're going the ADC position, you want your top 4 to be your primary, and then your bottom 3 to be your secondary, for the upside of the most points. That's just how it is. All right. And again, what you're able to do with this Excel spreadsheet, you're able to upload. Actually, I can show you guys how to do that right now. Oh, you're saying higher owned. OMG over VG. Yeah. I got the first question here. I'll get to it. Austin, I see your question. I'm going to get to it in just a second. Oh, so when you're uploading your lineups, when you're able to put that into your Excel file format, you go over to lineups and you click upload entries. And then what you'll do, obviously select the slate, upload CSV, and you can go right over to the downloads and you can click your stacks and open. I'm not done with them yet, so I'm not going to do that. But it uploads all your lineups, so then you can log into your app and you can see all your lineups right there and just mass entry. All right? So it's very, very simple and straightforward. All right. So OMG and then TES. I don't even know if I'm able to do that. I am. That's amazing. All right, so Austin asks, how do you get roto grinders not to give you your 1 off as captain? Like I'm saying 4-2 stacking, but it keeps giving me a 1 off at captain. So I don't know if you're using Fantasy Cruncher or Roto, but what I do is I force it to do a 4-3 here. If you're doing 4-2, make this a 2, and then whatever your team is, lock it in. Physically put it to 1, and then go back to your player pool, and then physically lock the team. That's how you do it. All right, that's not good. That's not good. We don't want that. We want TES in the main spot. Why is it not giving me TES? I don't know. It might not be able to. Let's see if it can. There we go. There's the lineup I'm looking for. You almost have to force it to do it by locking in these teams. All right, and there's my other lineup. Boom. Oh, so another thing. For VG, you're not able to get your ADC in the captain spot and then pair it with these other secondary stacks. Okay, so I had to go down to AIX. I don't know, guys. AIX is in the captain spot. I believe he's their mid. I was able to do that and compare it and then get it against every single team with the exception of OMG, with the exception of a couple teams. But that is primary stack. I had to stack AIX as my captain for the most upside. So with the last lineup is a perfect example of how I've missed on winning GPPs. I have that exact stack with OMG and RW, but I put in Wanfang at the second ADC, and I keep missing on one player. Yeah, I mean, sometimes, guys, I mean, there's obviously those few players that just go ballistic. It happens, but I'm talking historically. You want to pair your ADC at your captain spot, and you want that 4-3 stack to kind of work out. If it doesn't, not the end of the world. You want as many different combinations as you can, but with 20 lineups, it's kind of hard to do. And also, you have to consider that in these 20 entry max, these guys are playing there's so many different combinations to look at, these huge GPPs, that you have to hit the exact right lineup for that to happen. Okay, so I mean, don't knock yourself if you're one guy off. Your process is right. It's mainly your contest selection. You want to go for these lower GPPs, these smaller entry GPPs. Okay. Obviously, you want to hit these huge GPPs, but it's very hard to do a 20 entry max. That's why 150 max you always see Osmo at the top, because he always has so many different combinations, but using these same kind of theories to maximize his upside. All right. Not to get lost, but I paired OMG with TES. Let's go ahead and compare them with SN. No. Nope. Getting there. There he is. There's my 4-3 stack I'm looking for. All right. Smalls in the top. Cool. And then last but not least, we are going to stack with V5. This one should be pretty simple. No, there it is. There's the stack I'm looking for. Historically, this should score the most points if V5 and OMG are the top scoring two on the slate. They probably won't be, but if they are, guess what? We are taking this thing down. Because guess what? Anything can happen in League of Legends. Absolutely everything and anything. All right, I have to go back because historically for OMG, Smalls isn't the top scoring guy. It's actually Icon. So let's go ahead and try to pair him with TES and SN as my last two stacks, and then I'll go ahead and get off, or I'll complete my builds and answer any questions you guys have. All right, there it is. I guess Icon's their mid, so their mid player is historically the best scoring player. So I'm going to throw him in here. If OMG's winning, I'm taking out a GPP tonight, guys. Hate to tell you, but I will take your money if you enter my contest. Icon. And then we're going to go to SN here. Pair those two. See what that gives us. No. Yes, that's the one I'm looking for. And yes, I'm a little bit faster at this just because I've been doing it for so long. But if you guys are getting lost, feel free to ask any questions. There's my 20 lineups. Boom. I've already done the other ones. Let's go ahead and upload. We're going to go to downloads. Open. All those lineups just updated, and now I can go onto my phone It is 1:30, 30 minutes before lock. Let's see if there's any contests. I don't even think there's any contests. So this might have been all of a waste of time. There's a $4 one. I think I'm gonna enter that with 800 people. Bear with me, guys. All right, yep, so I just entered that $4 max. And that is basically how you guys do it. So that's how I do it. Again, to kind of recap, you want to cover your basis. You wanna stack smartly. OMG, SM were the main teams I was targeting. I faded V5 and RW as primary stacks just because their ownership is so low. There's not a high chance they're gonna win anyway, or appear in the optimal stack, even if they do win. So again, that's my reason behind that. They are in secondary stacks, but they're not my primary stacks. This is a GPP-oriented video, guys. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and monitor it now. You just had to enter that same one. Evan, you'll get to see if I'm at the top tonight. All right. Matt, are you using the stack percentages at all? Yes, I usually look at the stack percentages. Like I said, with this slate, it's actually pretty difficult because the projected ownership actually matches up with the percent top stack, which is kind of difficult. So therefore, you kind of have to make a stand. My stand is I'm going to be fading V5 and RW. I'm going to be going for that 9% leverage just because that ownership is going to be 9%. And then I'm kind of going from there. I'm taking a hard stance on OMG and SN. Those are going to be my two teams I'm going to be targeting for GPPs. The most. I have exposure to everything. You have $3,900 left on one of your GPPs. Is that okay? Absolutely. The more the better. That means nobody's gonna have that lineup. So if that does hit, you're gonna hit for a lot of money. But again, make sure it's optimal. ADC and the captain spot. V5 is like the Washington Wizards. You fire them up, whoever is playing. Yeah, that's true. So SN, like I said, is at projected 24% ownership. Their percentage top stack is 24.6. So a little bit of leverage there. Between TES and SN, who do you think is getting more likely to win fast? As in not getting enough DK points from dominating too much. It's probably going to be with SN. But again, I mean, anything can happen in League of Legends. If V5 pushes the envelope, obviously, then SN's going to be getting more kills. TES historically is projected more kills. They project 15, or well, they average 15 kills a game. RW averages 13.4, which is why the percentage top stack is higher on those guys. SN at 13.6. Also, guys, if you are completely new to this, thank you so much for your support. Please hit that subscription button. I do go live before lock publicly before these major contests, but again, this is a Patreon only stream. If you are in here and haven't been kicked yet, I do appreciate if you jump on board with the Patreon. All of our Patreon tools do look very similar to this. Has my projected ownership, it has my projected percentage top stack, and it also has my projected fantasy points, which you can then upload to Fantasy Cruncher and then Roto Grinders as well. Yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks for tuning in, guys. For cash, if you guys want to talk cash real quick, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them, but I'll go ahead and talk cash. Cash, you want to go with the highest projected ownership. TES is going to be dominated the most, along with SN. If you need a team slot, OMG or VG is going to be your last team slot to save the most money. If you want to differentiate yourself and save money, it's always in the team spot, because let me show you guys this real quick. If you go and you sort by salary, TES tops the list for team. Sunning is next. VG is 5.2. OMG is 4.8. If you save salary by going OMG from 4.8 to 5.8K. If OMG wins, they're going to put about the same amount of points as Top Esports and Sunny Gaming. Okay, if they win. But if you look at an ADC from Top Esports and OMG, Top Esports is probably going to score more points, more kills. More kills. So the ADC is going to probably be scoring more points. But in the team slot, that's not always the case, okay? Usually if your team wins, they're going to put up a relatively the same amount of points. All right? All right, Evan, I'll be looking out for you in that contest, man. I don't know if you want this heat. I'm just saying. I don't know if you want me to take your money. If I'm not at the top, then I'm sorry. Take back everything I said. All right, guys, but if you don't have any more questions, I'll go ahead and sign off here. I'm going to be watching League of Legends for the rest of the night and preparing my video for tomorrow's slate. It's one. So, yeah, tomorrow's slate for the LPL. Looks like it's another 3-game LPL slate, which is pretty exciting. No more LCK. It looks like, at least for the time being, I like that. Because LCK, as we know with the rosters, they're just so up and down, man. So up and down. How do you feel about Ben? I like Ben. I like him for his price tag and obviously being on the winning team. Could obviously be a good captain optimal for a lot of people. He's not my captain necessarily, but Ben at top for SN going against V5, absolutely. I mean, they probably shouldn't sub him out. The only reason they would sub him out is if V5 takes game 1, and then all your SN lineups go down the tube. So, but I mean, they obviously are a minus 850 to win, so they should easily dominate these guys. Ben should stay in there for the majority of the time, if not all the time. So, that's my thought on Ben. Are you still not using the 4-man with team, right? I don't know what you mean by that, man. Yes. Oh yeah. No, I know what you're saying. So when you have your primary 4 stack, make sure your 4 stack does not have the team in there as well. Make sure that's part of your secondary stack. So if you go 4-3, make sure your 3 stack. Let's say I'm pairing, I don't know, OMG is my 4 stack, and then TES is my 3. Make sure TES is in the team slot. Okay. You'll stop your upside if you put OMG, if you're using them as a 4 stack, if you put them also in your team spot. Absolutely, man. Evan, always a pleasure, man. Keep supporting those videos. Thank you so much. Of course, we have been just on an exponential growth as far as our esports content goes. So thank you so much for your support. I know this is tough times, but guys, if we're going to continue to dominate these esports, I'm going to be continuing to put out content for it. It's been a very fun ride. I did not expect us to be doing this well for esports. So you guys are just as surprised as I am. I'm having a blast with this. I don't know about you guys. I'm having an absolute blast with esports. I mean, I found myself actually genuinely interested in the League of Legends Championship, the playoffs yesterday. I was on the edge of my seat watching Mad Lions and G2 the other day. I was like, what am I doing? I've never even played League of Legends, and here I am looking at my DK app. I'm just waiting for the scores to update for G2 and Mad Lions. I had a Mad Lions stack in there, so I was very, very happy with my success there. Thank you, Jason. Thank you so much, man. All right, guys, look out for my early morning video on the LPL slate, obviously for my Patreon users. If you haven't already, again, cheat sheets, they're going to look just like this. I'm actually going to get right off stream and look directly at the LPL slate for tomorrow. So I'll be having my content up. Oh, also, CSGO. We're putting out content for CSGO. If you guys are interested in that, I got really close to a takedown. You saw me and Evan talking about it a little bit earlier. CSGO, guys. I have optimal stacks for that now, so I will give a little bit more of an inside scoop for CSGO going forward. I got a little bit more of an idea of how to do it now. It took me about a week, but it's a process. There is an optimal stack, at least for these slates. You guys will see some of these top stacks appear in the top lineups for GPP, so I'll be going over that and putting out content for that again tomorrow. I think the slate starts at 12, so plenty of time to do that. I will go ahead and do that. Guys, I'm going to be crunching numbers all night. Obviously, for you guys are my #1 priority. Again, If you guys weren't part of this community, I would not be where I am today. So again, thank you so much. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. I'll go ahead and get off in about a couple minutes, and I'll be watching League of Legends and crunching some numbers for tomorrow's slate. Quarantine life, right? Can't believe it. Man, I haven't worked out in like 3 weeks. It's bad. I got my little my push-up bar right next to me. That's what I've been using like in between games. I will literally get down, do like 30 push-ups, get back up, watch the next game, go back down, do 30 more push-ups, just stay in shape, man. It's tough. I used to be one of those guys that went to the gym literally 24/7, like I'm talking like a year or two ago, and it just stopped, man. I'm disappointed in myself. All right, guys, I see no more questions. With all that being said, guys, have a great rest of your morning. Let's cash, and I'll see you guys at the top. I'll see Evan right at the top, right? All right, guys. Have a good rest of your morning.